Yes, my new computer stand from the great Steph McKenzie.
JT for coach.
Yes. Look at this. Thank you. Can we get the link so I can send it to her? Or you can send it to her. She'd love to hear from you.
Okay.
Please do. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
You just made my day.
Go Raiders.
You just made my day. All right, Bobby, we got to do a radio show today. We got to get rolling. What do we got to have here for sound? Like, yeah. JT the Brick Raw, the Raw file, man. How much time do we have? A few minutes? Yep. Sam Darnold will be the discussion today, as Sam Darnold did not play well. But did he have to play great to be the next quarterback of another team? Or not? So we'll see.
Celebrate with Remy Martin Cognac. XO, VSOP, and 1738. Remy Martin.
Yes.
Yep.
Good day today. These are one of those days where you try to figure out what you want to do. Bobby, I like the opening sound. I like all that. Yeah, all of it looks good. The Aikman on the Cowboys. Yeah. Okay. What is happening? Yeah, a lot of guys don't play great in a playoff game here or there. Either did Justin Herbert. You do anything to have Justin Herbert as your quarterback. Justin Herbert had a bad game. Jordan Love had a bad game. Sam Darnold had a bad game. So every once in a while you have a bad game. Not everybody's Joe Montana or Joe Flacco in that that postseason where, what do you have, like 14 touchdowns, no interceptions? That's hard to do. With 23 bays, over 12,000 square feet, ZipZap is your one-stop shop. And we got to figure out, everybody's worried about who's going to be the next GM today. Tom Telesco sent me a nice text and wanted to thank the Raider Nation for everything, which was nice.
Sunday, February 9th, join us at Chickies
and Pete's for
the ultimate game day viewing experience. Your ticket gets you guaranteed
Chickies and Pete's.
Food and beverage credits that go towards delicious game day fare, drinks, and bottle service. Chickies and Pete's features 20 varieties of beer on tap, world-class food, and fine spirits. No wonder it's ESPN's #1 sports bar. And with over 50 giant state-of-the-art TVs and a massive sound system, you'll be immersed in the action. Reserve your spot now. Free parking always. SaharaLasVegas.com for more info.
This is JT from Las Vegas's premier cigar lounge, La Casa Cigars and Lounge at Tivoli.
All right, let's do a radio show today. Appreciate everybody here. Yeah, we're over 6,000 subs and less than 500 videos. So I didn't know that's pretty good. Now I'd like 30,000 subscriptions by 1,000 videos. Maybe we can do that. But you're all the bricklayers. You're the ones who have been there from day one. We appreciate that. And I do appreciate that very much.
They say Nevada, they're not from around here. If they think our capital is Las Vegas, they're not from around here. I'm Richard Harris, and I am from Nevada.
You know, people say, hey, do I start the stream too early? I got to start it up a couple of minutes before the show starts. We'll do that so everybody can get in here. We can test the microphone. We can
444-4444, just in case.
And then we can get rolling. And you get to hear all my commercials.
4 locations here in the Valley, Summerlin, in Boca Park.
Grimaldi's, the best pizza I've ever had. And that is true. That is true. So we got the Rams played unbelievable. I was at the Ram game when the Raiders the Rams were 1-4 when they beat the Raiders 20-15.
Avoid you on Unnecessary Roughness from 2 to 5 on Raider Nation Radio 920 AM KRLV Las Vegas.
You're listening to the JT the Brick Show, where the Raider Nation has come to sound off and react for over 20 years.
It's the JT the Brick Show, broadcasting live from the Finley Cadillac Performance Studio.
Raiders bring a blitz. He takes it off the middle, and he's wrapped up from behind. Max Crosby.
Your silver and black home to sound off for over 20 years.
Open at the 35, racing to the 20, 10, touchdown Raiders.
And now, here's JT the Brick.
Out of the gate, JT, as we are live today, and we're in the midst of the NFL playoffs, which is a good thing. You want content and you're looking for a GM, a head coach, and you got football games to talk about, there's no better place I'd rather be. Thanks for listening today, everybody. Thanks for downloading the show, watching it live on YouTube, JT the Brick YT, everybody live on Raider Nation Radio. And we're also got a really big station, a platform, the Raiders mobile app. You add all that up together, and we've grown this audience significantly. Thanks to Q Myers and everybody here at Lotus that gives us this opportunity every day. I've had national shows, big national shows, local shows in all different markets. I love where we're at right now. I get to talk on the radio 2 to 4 hours a day. Last night it was 5 hours, 3 last night, 2 today, and it's fun. Mostly the season ends. It doesn't end until after the Super Bowl. So we put our head down here, and we try to get through the Super Bowl, and then we're going to come out of it in what I'm classifying as one of the most important Raider off seasons ever, or as Stephen A. would say, ever. This is it. This is a big one, and that's the focus of the monologue brought to you by Golden Entertainment. Man, they had 70-plus taverns last night full of people wanting to watch NFL football, which is a good thing. A happy hour 5 to 7, midnight to 2, and please stop by the Strat, Arizona Charlie's, and go check out everything that they're doing. Golden Entertainment fuels the monologue as we get rolling. So what am I going to do today? We know that there's 2 GMs that are interviewing. One is John Spytek, who comes over from Tampa Bay, been with Brady since Michigan, and was one of the architects of the Super Bowl winning Tampa Bay Brady team. Not the Super Bowl Tampa Bay Gruden team. No. That was a long, long time ago. The most recent Super Bowl. Everybody likes the name Spytek. So we're digging on him, trying to figure out what type of fit he is. It's Tom Brady. And then you have John Eric Sullivan from Green Bay, who's been in that organization a long time. I'm talking long time, back to Reggie McKenzie, people we know over the years, worked his way up the organization. And the Packers, no doubt about it, are one of the best drafting teams in football. They never have a problem with their offensive line. Their offensive line's always good. They draft well. They develop quarterbacks great. I mean, look at Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love. That's a pretty good track record there. So with all that, those are the 2 GM candidates. And then there's one of 2 camps that you're in, which, again, there's not – when you work for the team, as long as I have, you have sources in the building. A lot of the sources are gone. A lot of people have left. A lot of people are out of the organization from 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. And now Mark Davis, as he has his tight circle, which I know of, but I don't know Brady at that level, they're making the next decision. And it's a big one. And they're doing everything around the clock. They are burning the midnight oil, from what I'm hearing inside the building there. And they are there trying to get this one right. They tried to get every other one right, too. And as I always said, all the other decisions and hires were all vetted, good hires at the time. Everybody kind of believed in it. You might not have believed in a few of them, but the people behind the scenes put together packages with GMs and coaches that they hope would bring the Raiders to greatness. That's where it is, and it's happening again and again. It's a redo, a restart, do it again. Do it again, do it again, do it again until you get it right. You go to the gym, you got a personal trainer, no, get down on the ground, do it again until you get it right. And that's what we're doing here, trying to figure out how they're going to get it right. And the ability to get it right now brings in Tom Brady, who has fresh new eyes on everything. Everything he's learning in the building, I would assume business-wise, because he's a businessman and he's got a nice chunk of the team, a small chunk, but significantly financially big. If you look at the price and appreciation of the Raiders, oh man, have you looked at the appreciation price of the Raiders and what it's worth by the time they got there? 6 years ago today, I had a shovel in my hand and I emceed the groundbreaking of the Henderson Raiders World Headquarters. I was the MC of that event. There were bulldozers behind me and dirt. There was nothing up there. It was wild. I looked at the pictures today. I was like, man, that was 6 years ago. Derek Carr on stage with me. Mark Davis, and they were breaking ground on Henderson. And we knew about the stadium, but they had to have a world headquarters there too. That was 6 years ago today. Time flies. And since then, they built I think, one of the greatest world headquarters in sports. There's a couple of big ones in Europe. The big one here in the States is in Dallas called the Star, where Jerry Jones is based out of. And I think the Raiders are probably in the top 3. I think the Raiders are in the top 3 with stadiums. You can debate the stadiums what you like or not, but no one's debating the revenue the Raiders are bringing in, not just football. You only play 9 days a year there, 10 days a year. 10 days out of 365, they play NFL football. So they don't play a lot of NFL football there. Add in the college. You got to add in the concerts, all the private events, all the big events when a convention comes to town and they take out Allegiant Stadium and want to be there. So that's going good. But now we got to get the football side of it right. And the way to do that now is to look at it differently than they've looked at it in the past. The people in the room have shrunk. It's a smaller room. And Tom Brady's got the biggest voice. That's okay. He's great as a football player. He's been really successful as a businessman. He's involved in the league now because he's calling games, so he's very up to speed. I mean, Jason Horowitz calls games. He's up to speed. I've seen his research and what he does. Okay, Tom Brady's calling games for Fox, so he knows every player in the league, every position. He's got his eyes on this. I don't know about college. It's hard when you build up a college scouting department. You got to have guys out there that are really mining deep for players in schools that you're not that familiar with who can maybe make the team and help the team out long term. So all of that is being reworked now and being relooked. And as of today, the show's very fluid. As of today, the only thing is to add that Pete Carroll was in the building yesterday. I don't know how that went. I'm assuming it went well. I think if Pete Carroll came in for an interview, he would have been buttoned up and really tight and ready to get it done and show everybody how he could take this team to where they need to get next, which is a 4-win team that needs to get to the playoffs. Pete Carroll checks every box, okay? He checks every box. There's not a box that Pete Carroll doesn't check. Everyone. Administrative, vice president, president, coach, everything, Pete Carroll's checked it. So I'm going to assume that went pretty well. I'm assuming that if they threw questions at Pete Carroll, he wasn't, concerned or looking for his notes. I think Pete Carroll probably impressed everybody there, but I don't know. I wasn't in the room. And then it seems to come down to Ben Johnson. And if you're in the Ben Johnson camp, the good news on this, and even Dan Graziano reported it from ESPN, I'll dive into that next hour, that it seems like Tom Brady wants him. And that's the guy. And maybe the only reason, or one of the only reasons, we're going to get Ben Johnson at the end is because of the Brady relationship. Not that Tom Telesco couldn't help. Obviously, put Mark Davis aside. He's the owner. He's encouraged. He wants to talk to everybody who can make the team better. That's what Mark's about. But let's assume that Brady is the reason why Ben Johnson comes to the Raiders. And he's the head coach, the offensive guru. He's the next, I think, if you look at it, but what we're trying to get out of this is we're trying to get the next Sean Payton, the next Kyle Shanahan, and the next Sean McVay, who out-coached his protege last night and gave him a beatdown like you rarely see. So Ben Johnson is fantastic if the Raiders get him. He's young. He's loud and energetic during the games. Like, he's a guy that shows pulse, which is important to me. He's aggressive. I love him being aggressive, but his head coach is aggressive, and Dan Campbell. Right? So his head coach is, hey, you go for it on 4th down. What? No, go for it on 4th down. Well, do we have to? Yeah, go for it. It's nice when you're a play caller and your head coach is saying, go for it on every 4th down. We've had things around here lately on 2nd and 8. We're handing it off into the pile. On 2nd and 8 with 2 wins, losing 9 in a row. On 2nd and 8 in the second half, we're handing the ball off into a pile. Done with that. No more of that. No more 2nd and 8, down 2 scores, we're handing the ball off in the pile. We're done with that. Unless we get some amazing running back like a Derrick Henry that can on 2nd and 8 get you 1st down. So the vision of what Ben Johnson could be with John Spytek, if you put those two together, could be really good. Really good. But again, they have to prove it. They have to prove that they could be a head coach and a GM, not an assistant, not a coordinator. They have to prove that. And then with Pete Carroll, if those who are speculating Pete Carroll brings in Robert Saleh, Pete Carroll would get a good offensive coordinator. He's Pete Carroll. But I don't know who the offensive coordinators are left. Who are you going to get if you have a defensive head coach like Aaron Glenn? Say Aaron Glenn's the coach of the Raiders. Good coach. I don't think the Raiders take a step back. I think they take a step forward with Aaron Glenn. Who's going to be the offensive coordinator? It's not going to be Cliff Kingsbury. He's going to stay in Washington or be the head coach of the Cowboys. Who are you going to find? Well, now you got to go find an offensive coordinator, and you want it to be better than Luke Getsy, but who's it going to be? Ben Johnson, you don't have to worry about the offensive coordinator or the head coach. And it seems like with Brady and him coming together, they are going to build the model of what they want to do next, not the Patriot way. Not the Patriot way. Everybody's still freaking out, Bobby, about the Patriot way. You grew up in it. Now everyone's sitting around going, oh, my God, let's not be like the Lakers, the Celtics, the Patriots. Let's just be like who? Who do you want to be like? Jacksonville? You want to do it the Jacksonville way? How do you want to do it here? You want to do it the Charger way? Chargers look improved, but they don't have any history of winning. Raiders have a history of winning. And they were very fortunate back in the day. They had the best coaches. They had the best mind in football in Al Davis. They had the best players. Veteran players who came in who were beaten and bruised ended up being legends. Legends like Jim Plunkett. It's hard to do that. And the Raiders did that. And they were called the team of the decades. When I started with the Raiders in 98, all the press guides said team of the decades. Because it was true. It was the 60s, 70s, 80s. A little bit in the 90s, and we got to get back to the team of the decade, not the team of the decades. And the only way that's going to happen is with something new and big and bold needs to happen. And I told you that 2 weeks ago. Big and bold. Because two good gentlemen have left the organization, Antonio Pierce, Tom Telesco. I texted with Tom Telesco. I was really, really nice that he texted me and this is nice. I want to share this with you because Tom wanted me to share it with you. And this is really important, just a bit of it, not the whole thing. He said, JT, can you make sure Raider Nation knows how appreciative I am of them? It's been one kind of experience I've been a part of. No other fan base like this. And also the Raider alumni. He went on to say more to me, and I thought that was really classy. Unbelievable classy. When Dave Ziegler was let go, called me, classy. All these guys are class acts. All of them want to win. And the new regime is going to want to win just as much. Everybody wants to get this right. And I know you understand that. So now we're in the hunt to get these guys. But as I mentioned yesterday, there's been a couple of monkey wrenches thrown in the room here. Not one wrench, a couple of them. Oh, boy, the Cowboys got rid of Mike McCarthy. Whoa. Mike McCarthy's track record of winning is amazing. Amazing. At the level, or if not more than Sean Payton, who everybody seems to love and they're enamored with, Jim Harbaugh. Mike McCarthy's won a lot of games. He's available now. Every other owner's going, whoa, wait a second. Mike McCarthy's available? Man, let's take a look at him. He can go to Chicago tomorrow, and they're instantly credible. He kicked ass with Green Bay on Chicago. You know you get Mike McCarthy there, that organization's going to be run better. Mike McCarthy to New Orleans. Sounds good. Or Jacksonville, right? Would Mike McCarthy be interested in the Raiders? I don't know. He's not on the list, but Mike McCarthy's available. Pete Carroll, again, as I mentioned, 73 years old, acts like he's 45. I'm great with Pete. Pete gets the job. Congratulations. If he doesn't, for Ben Johnson, congratulations to Ben Johnson. Whoever gets it, flip a coin, or if you think something better, if you want to call in on that, okay, because we're not begging for calls. We don't need any. We're just reminding people we're live. We're a live radio show, and we got to do some fan interaction, and you fans should have something to say with this. And there are fans that know more than me. Oh, God, I said it. Where maybe you know more about John Spytek or John Eric Sullivan, and you want to give your opinion on who's going to be that guy who becomes the GM of the team. 702-365-9200 if you want to get in. We'll have Chris Myers from the NFL on Fox. Jeff Sherman in about a half an hour with the moving lines. I know everyone loves that. Jeff is super sharp. He set the line. Last night, first tweet I sent out after the game, he set the lines for the next round of games as we're in the divisional playoffs. We'll talk to him. And then I'm going to do a deep dive. And I prepared that earlier today. I'm going to get into it here on what happened with Sam Darnold last night. I'll just give you a little bit of a taste of it. Sam Darnold's a really good quarterback. We are now living in a time where we defined everybody by one game. One game does not define a 14-3 season. He's the only quarterback dating back to leather helmets who have won 14 games on a new team. I think that's pretty special. If Sam Darnold was the quarterback of the Raiders to start next season, if he was the starter, the Raiders would be significantly better. Significantly better. like a 4-5 win out of the gate, significantly better. But he put up all those numbers in Minnesota, and Minnesota has Justin Jefferson, Hawkinson, good players, Brian Flores on the defensive side. He played well all year, but everybody wants to judge him on the last 2 games where combined he brought in like 9 points. So you're looking at Sam Darnold, the price has gone down. If you follow real estate in Vegas or anywhere around the country, real estate goes up and down. You'd like to buy real estate when it's on a downward trend, but a lot of times you can't because the market's going up, and if you don't buy that house, it's never going to be available again. So by no means am I saying that Sam Darnold is the front runner for the Raiders. But it's similar to Jimmy Garoppolo and Gardner Minshew, isn't it? Sounds similar. Those guys were pretty good. They had resumes. Jimmy G had a better resume than Sam Darnold. Jimmy G won 4 playoff games and went to a Super Bowl and had the lead in the 4th quarter of a Super Bowl. He's a pretty good player, and none of that worked out. And I don't know who Ben Johnson's going to want. He's not bringing Jared Goff with him. Look what he did with Jared Goff. I watched a lot of Detroit Lion games. I picked them to win the Super Bowl in August. I watch Lion games. This guy's unreal with Ben Johnson. How much better is Jared Goff than Sam Darnold? A little? Not a lot better. I think he's better, but not by a lot. And, Baker Mayfield didn't play a great game in his last game. I think everybody would take Baker Mayfield here. Jordan Love didn't play great in his last game. Would you take Jordan Love as a starting quarterback of the Raiders? Every one of you would right now. Every single one of you would take Jordan Love as the quarterback of the Raiders. He had a pretty bad game. No touchdowns, 3 interceptions. And then Justin Herbert, who's elite. He's elite. He's not playing elite in the playoffs. So what? Some other guys didn't either when they started off in their career. They played 20 years. They were elite in years 13 to 17. Okay? Herbert didn't play well. So if you believe in recency bias, a lot of these great quarterbacks have not played well in the postseason other than who? Jaden Daniels. The Raiders wanted Jaden Daniels. He was not available because Washington was not going to move that pick. Wasn't available. You couldn't get him. So that was it. He was out. That was the pick for the Raiders. Caleb Williams, he needs a coach. That's a really important hire. I think the Raiders hire is the most important thing because we're all, or some of us, and we're building out the show more with more football fans, but the majority who are watching me now are Raider fans. And I think, the Raiders are priority 1 for us on Raider Nation Radio. But priority 1 in the NFL this offseason is to get Caleb Williams a coach. He's the first pick in the draft last year, the Heisman Trophy winner. Jaden Daniels was the second pick. He already won a playoff game. They got to fix Caleb Williams. And Ben Johnson and Mike McCarthy could do that. So before anybody starts popping champagne and thinking Ben Johnson's going to be here, Ben Johnson's got a really good opportunity already looking at Chicago saying, man, that quarterback's pretty good. I don't have a quarterback. Jared Goff can't do what Caleb Williams does. And if Ben Johnson comes here, he would have to, with Tom Brady, find the quarterback. I'm pretty cool with Tom Brady and Ben Johnson having a dinner at Michael's at South Point, or they're at Wynn's Steakhouse, and they're trying to figure out who the quarterback's going to be. I'm pretty confident with the 6th pick overall, the Raiders can move. Oh, and then the last thing, the Deion Sanders speculation last night. I had lines full last night on Deion Sanders. I'll open up that topic today. What do you do with him? Not for the Raiders, but if Shador was going number 1 or 2, the internet would break. Everybody would want Deion here because Deion would want to coach his son in Vegas. We all understand that, right? Not that Deion would get the offer, because we don't know if Mark and Tom Brady would give Deion the offer. They'd sit down with him. But if Shador was 1 or 2, would Deion want to coach the Raiders? All you're hearing about is Deion today with the Dallas Cowboys. And could the Cowboys go in that direction? Yeah, they could. They could go in that direction, and we'll see how that plays out there. But the game last night, oh my God, Sean McVay's a hell of a coach. He took that team from the fires of LA, where everybody's affected. Everybody's affected. The fans are bussing out there. They're trying to get out there. The staff, I often talk about the guys and gals in the equipment room. They got to get everything ready. Mike Bidwell, Mr. Bidwell of Arizona, sent 2 big 777s out there to take families and pets and people there. It was a really good night for the NFL. They pulled it off. They pulled off a playoff game under duress as there were fires raging through Los Angeles. And the LA Rams acted like nothing changed. and everything changed for them. They all were wearing LAFD T-shirts, emergency worker shirts, and they went out there and pitched a perfect game, close to it. And that was a brilliant football game. They came out on the road and lost a home game. It was their home game. They came out and they were firing right on the first drive. Puka Nacua, Matthew Stafford, they looked great. And the defense, how would you like to have that defense of the young Rams? God, they're good. Really good. That defensive front without Aaron Donald, can you imagine if Aaron Donald came out of retirement, which he easily could, week 7, and said, man, you guys look good. I want to come play for this team, and, took a little break. Now I'll come back and play, and you dropped him in the middle of that, they'd be a Super Bowl contender. So we saw them advance, but we saw the meltdown of the Minnesota Vikings. So I shared this story today on Twitter. A buddy of mine back in New York, where I'm from, is a diehard Viking fan, like diehard. And it's weird. Why is he a Viking fan from New York? Little kid, grew up, Tarkenton era, became a Viking fan. Well, he called me this morning and we talked for about 15 minutes, and he was crushed. They haven't won. The Vikings, same with the Raiders, born in 1960. 1960, the Vikings have never won a Super Bowl. Never. And they're a proud franchise. They got a lot of fans. And he thought they were going to win because they were, quote, a team of destiny. So he got gut punched last night. We talked about the game, and he was encouraged. He loves Kevin O'Connell as the coach and Sam Darnold. I said, do you want to keep Sam Darnold? And he said, yeah, I want to keep him at the right price. I said, well, good luck with that. Because now we're in a time in football where everybody thinks they deserve a raise. Everybody thinks they deserve a raise. You don't deserve a raise if you play football unless you play better than what you signed for. You don't deserve a raise because the calendar flipped from 2024 to 25 and Amazon came in with Netflix with streaming, and you go to your agent and say, I deserve a raise. You don't deserve nothing. You might get cut. You might get cut. You might get traded. Well, the quarterback market now is $50 to $60 million. Hell no, it ain't. It's 50, 60 million for Mahomes. Stafford, again, Herbert is in a category because of his upside and his talent level, which is extreme. So you can debate that level that he's not living up to it. That's fair. But all of a sudden, we got to give Sam Darnold and the kid from San Francisco, Brock Purdy, they all of a sudden roll out of bed and the calendar says 2025 and they're on Radio Row at the Super Bowl and they're demanding $52 million? No, we got to stop that. I've been one of the guys preaching that more than anybody else. It's just like the stock market and real estate. Just because the market goes up, it can come down. Everybody thinks the NFL quarterback market can't come down because there's more money to spend because the league is making more money and the owners collectively bargain with the players with the split. So the players get 49%. So if the cap goes up another 20 million, which it always seems to do, we got to give the quarterback what? More? So what's the price for Sam Darnold today? That's the topic. Because we're waiting around. We don't know who the coach is or the GM. What do you want me to do? Speculate on who? I don't even know who the coach or GM is. What would you pay for Sam Darnold to be the starting quarterback of the Raiders? You know instantly the Raiders are much better on offense with Sam Darnold because Sam Darnold went to Kyle Shanahan camp in San Francisco and it was with Kevin O'Connell. So he's had great coaching, not good coaching. If you get Ben Johnson with him or Pete Carroll, that's pretty good coaching, you would think. So Sam Darnold is an option. He is not my option. So calm down in the chat. Relax. Let's act like adults. I'm not going on. Don't clip me on some Raider site. JT the Brick says Sam Darnold deserves this. I didn't say any of that. Don't clip me. What I'm saying is he's an option. If Gardner Minshew was an option, you better believe Sam Darnold's an option in this league. So what are you going to pay for him? I think Darnold's worth 3 years, $40 million. Daniel Jones money, 3 years, $40 million. Okay, do the math. $120 million. You give him $100 million guaranteed. Now you got a quarterback. Now you go get a wide receiver one, a running back. You continue to build on the defense, and all of a sudden you're an 8-9 win team rolling out of bed. Right there. If you don't get Sam Darnold, oh boy, don't look. Don't Google free agent quarterbacks. You're going to get nervous. Don't Google who's available and free agent for quarterbacks. Kirk Cousins is a good player. Last time we saw him play, he looked washed. Doesn't mean he is. Doesn't mean he is at all. And then, Bobby, that leads me to Aaron Rodgers. Oh, man. At least I got some credibility around here. I was saying Russell Wilson. I was saying Baker Mayfield. I wasn't saying Jimmy G and Gardner Minshew. Those were the guys delivered to our radio show. You never heard me once saying go out in free agency and get Jimmy G. Jimmy G was the guy they brought in. I get behind Jimmy G. I want him to win. Okay, I said go out and get Baker. I said go out and get Russell Wilson. Okay, didn't happen. Okay, there's been plenty of deals that never happened. But I'm not saying go get Sam Darnold. I'm trying to figure out the price point. Trying to figure out what he's worth today. Anybody help me with that? What is he worth? And it could be not just with the Raiders. What is he worth for another team? Assuming Aaron Rodgers leaves, he's not going back to the Jets. So you take the Jets out of it. Sam Darnold could go to the Saints. If they don't want to pay Carr, he can go to the Saints. I'd get out of Geno Smith and go Sam Darnold all day long. I actually like Sam Darnold better than Brock Purdy, but Purdy's proven that he deserves to keep that job. So I think that's a pretty good topic today. Sam Darnold just got beat, and what we traditionally do in America, when we do this with athletes and politicians, we beat people when they're down. I'm trying to avoid that. We take people and we rate them by their last game. Go watch Vince Neil sing and tell me what you'd rate Vince Neil as a singer now compared to 1989. Okay? You know what I mean? Do you judge someone by what they recently did their entire body of work? I think Sam Darnold's a pretty good player. And this guy's saying to me, $10 million for 1 year. I got this guy in the chat saying 10. Oh, you're really Adam Hughes? You think he's going to take 1 year, $10 million? This is what I'm dealing with. So try to help me along the way. 702-365-9200. Chris Myers on Tuesdays. That's always a good get. We're brought to you by Remy Martin. Team up for excellence. Remy Martin, the excellence of everything they do with their cognac. And man, if you make a margarita, you've got to make it. When you look at everything they've done, and they are unbelievable. Remy Martin, the 300-year birthday of everything that they're doing with this company. 300 years is fascinating to me. Remy Martin, Cointreau, team up for excellence. That's the monologue. 27 minutes of passion and energy. Been doing this close to 30 years. It's real easy to open up a radio show. Now next is what's behind door number 1, 2, or 3. Jeff Sherman with the moving odds here from Vegas from the Westgate. He will join us coming up here in about 15 minutes. Let's hear from some Raider fans today. Let's get some bodies and some voices rolling, please.
You can stay in touch with your favorite stations and shows no matter your location.
Thought that was okay. 3 years, $100 million, 50 guaranteed. Joseph Torres. That kind of makes sense. Tequila, Big D. Here's this guy, James, who says, no go, 11 wins by Detroit were against non-playoff teams. People bitching and moaning about the Raiders only winning 4 games. And I got a guy going, his 11 wins out of 14 weren't big. There's always people saying it. What do you want? Do you want 11 wins or do you want 4?
Each week, join us for exclusive course night giveaways, staycations, dining certificates, and more. Your Sunday home is inside the sportsbook at the Suncoast.
This is JT for Grimaldi's, New
I'm
York
gonna play
South.
Darnold cut
Pick
post
up
game
the
coming
pizza
back.
that you crave. 4 locations here in the Valley, Summerlin, in Boca Park, on the Strip, at the Palazzo, Southwest Las Vegas on South Rainbow Boulevard, and Green Valley on Southeastern Avenue.
Personal injury law has been the same for a long time. We've had enough. Welcome to Sam and Ash, the new standard for personal injury law, where things are done the right way. Because you deserve a team that delivers real support and results.
All right. What else are we saying today? Weak division. So you don't like that, but you're bitching and moaning about the Raiders not having a quarterback and tanking games, and we can't get that. So who do you want? If you don't want Sam Darnold, tell me who do you want?
Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, Baker Mayfield's under contract. We missed that
We
one.
wanted him for 2 years.
volunteers will be at Smith's food and drug locations throughout the Las Vegas Valley from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., accepting food items, gift cards, and cash donations. While you're out shopping, be sure to pick up a few items to support families of critically ill children. For more information, visit rmhlv.org. That's rmhlv.org.
Hey Vegas, and for the truck, we
All right.
offer our first
Phone calls are quiet. People are quiet. Raider Nation. Do I sound quiet? I'm not quiet. I'm loud. I'm rolling, man. I'm popping today.
And remember, gift cards are available at For the Truck. Tequila Comisario was developed in the relentless pursuit of perfection with a deep passion for agave. It's the most awarded tequila. You'll immediately notice its beautiful packaging, and after just one sip, you'll experience how smooth it is. It's the Ferrari of tequila, the single highest quality, 100% all natural handcrafted Comisario tequila.
Justin Fields.
Tequila Comisario.
How do you know Fields can't pass? He's a professional NFL quarterback. I would assume he can pass.
High School, located in North Las Vegas, is accepting applications for the 2025-2026 school year. The opportunity for an affordable private college preparatory education, coupled with a real-world corporate work study experience, is waiting for you. With a 100% graduation rate, 100% of seniors are accepted into at least one four-year university. To learn more about the school or schedule a campus tour, please call 702-844-2019 or visit CristoRaySt.org today. That's 702-844-2019.
When you open a CCCU bonus checking account, you earn 5.13% interest on your money just for using your checking account. Plus, bonus checking offers peace of mind, unrivaled security, and smart savings. There's so many
Yeah, we got all that
benefits
sounds, those
CCCU.
highlights.
Isn't it about
Starting off, let's pound through that.
Open a bonus checking account today and start earning 5.13%.
I'm going to play
Because
Russell
if
Wilson
somebody's
coming
making
back.
money off your checking account, shouldn't it be you?
You hear me?
That's privately
What's that?
insured
Yep.
by American Share Insurance. Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show, brought to you by the Black Hole. Become a member of football's most notorious fans.
Yeah, that's the plan. I mean, obviously, I love it here and everything else, and I think we have a great football team. Obviously, it didn't go in the way we wanted it to, and I think there's a lot more to do. And like I said to you guys before, I always just trust God in the process.
Russell Wilson, he's got an interesting opportunity in front of him or not. What are you going to do there? Mike Tomlin, fans in Pittsburgh want Mike Tomlin out potentially. And then we get an opportunity for Russell Wilson. What are you going to do? He was on a one-year deal there. Do you bring him back? I would bring him back. I thought he played well for Pittsburgh. He really did. He played well, but the last couple of games, they didn't get it done. I thought the defense, the offensive line, the pass rush, the Steelers hit a wall. And Russ didn't play great down the stretch. So what are they going to do? They have Justin Fields. And a couple of people have mentioned, what about Justin Fields to the Raiders? I've always liked that idea of Justin Fields as a runner and a guy who you could develop into a passer. But it's a moot point if Ben Johnson doesn't want him. If Ben Johnson ends up being the head coach, and if he does, he's probably not going to say, oh, go get Justin Fields for me. I would doubt it. If he did, great. Then he would park him and try to get him back up to speed to see what happens. The question today is, and no Raider fans took the bait, Bobby. I worked on that monologue all morning long. Not one person called in on that. What is Sam Darnold worth? Very surprised by that because Sam Darnold is in the market to play quarterback as a free agent, and the Raiders need a quarterback. So we'll try that again. Press pause or unplug the phones. 702-365-9200. How much do you want the budget to be for the Raider quarterback? I would think most fans would say, we don't have a $60 million guy. The guy that would have made some sense if it wasn't, if Antonio Pierce came back. Now, I was always thinking that Dak Prescott, if Jerry didn't sign him to that $60 million deal, so maybe Dak is going to come. Dak's going to come to Vegas. It's a nice way of getting out of Dallas. He had his chance there. Maybe they pay him $55 million here, which is the market. That is the market. He got 60 from Dallas. So the market's above 50. I thought Dak would be good. Here's a Walter Payton Man of the Year, great leader, but Dak's out. And then it comes down to Aaron Rodgers as I'm looking through the free agent quarterbacks. And I just want to see Aaron Rodgers turn down a low offer. That's like my favorite new thing. I want to see someone offer Aaron Rodgers like $30 million, a 1-year deal, $30 million, and him going, no, that doesn't work. I don't want to do that. Well, what do you want? $50 million for 1 year? Now he probably thinks he's worth $50 million for 1 year or 2 years, and maybe he can get it. Maybe he can get it, but I'm looking at all the teams that need a quarterback. So the odds are from the Vegas sports books. I'm going to mention this to Jeff Sherman coming up. The best odds of Aaron Rodgers landing is Pittsburgh. Now, how big of a upgrade is Aaron Rodgers from Russell Wilson right now at the same age? I don't think that's an upgrade. I think Russell Wilson can play just as good as Aaron Rodgers. As a matter of fact, I know Russell Wilson's better outside the pocket and more mobile than Aaron Rodgers. But Aaron Rodgers got a big arm, can make all the throws. He's cerebral. He's smart at the line of scrimmage. Get the ball out quickly to a guy like Brock Bowers or Jacoby Myers, or throw it deep, 3-step drop, boom, you throw it deep to Trey Tucker. Aaron Rodgers is now available, and Kirk Cousins is available. Those are 3 big names. Now you might have said, well, 4 or 5 years ago, they would have been better names. No, because you wouldn't have wanted Sam Darnold 4 or 5 years ago. So to know that we're going into the offseason and the availability of Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Sam Darnold, and Kirk Cousins, those are all really good players. But you're going to pick away at the wart. You're going to say, well, he doesn't run that well. Well, he makes mistakes. Well, Sam Darnold got sacked 9 times last night. You would be right. I can't change what happened. But it doesn't mean you're going to play as poorly as the last game you played. And what has Sam Darnold got going for him? He was 14-3, and he played at a really high level. So let's get to what happened last night. The verse scoop and score was a big moment in this game because there was a point where it looked like Matthew Stafford might have fumbled the ball and he threw it away, backhanded. That could have changed the game for Minnesota. Once that was reversed, it didn't happen. It held up. This was the biggest play of the game.
Darnold against the rush. Blitz coming. He's hit. Ball down. Scooped up. Jared Verse has it. Down the right sideline with blockers. 10-5 to leap in the end zone. The defensive rookie of the year with a scoop and score.
Rams radio on the call there. That was a great play. The defensive rookie of the year. Wow. That guy Verse can play. That was a huge moment in the game. It changed the whole game. That was the moment that was the dagger in the game. We didn't know it. The game was still early at that point in the second quarter, but that play ended the game. And then Stafford was just playing pitch and catch the rest of the way.
Stafford, cool as can be, takes the snap, looking left, comes off that read, sidearm throw, to the 9, to the 5, to the end zone! Touchdown, Davis Allen! Touchdown, LA!
So this was just a beatdown at that point. You're saying to yourself, man, what's going on with the Vikings? Vikings have been pretty good, but after Detroit hammered them in the second half of that game, and then the first half of this game, the game was over here at halftime, 24-3. And then the final call, this game was over at halftime. They just had to play out the rest of the minutes.
Snap, knee, Rams are going to Philadelphia with a 27-9 victory over the Vikings.
Rams radio on the call there. So 27-9. Anybody bet that game? Anybody bet that game sharp? I thought most people were on the Vikings. I really did. I thought the Vikings were probably the play for Vegas. I'll talk to Jeff Sherman next on it. But the Rams, they were just ready to play that game. Inspired by the fires or not, we'll never know. I'm sure they were all inspired. It just looked like Minnesota the last 2 games were really doubting themselves. They were slow. They weren't fast. In the third quarter of that game, it was like 4 minutes ago in the third quarter, and I'm watching Darnold kneeling down in the huddle. I'm like, what is he doing? He's kneeling down in the huddle looking at his flip chart on his wrist, calling a play, and they're getting boat raced. I'm like, how is this guy not at the line of scrimmage? So after the game, Kevin O'Connell talked about what happened with this quarterback in a really tough spot.
There's just times where no matter how much you believe in the scheme and how much you believe in things, especially when, sometimes you're calling quick game and if they take away your first throw, there's completions to be had. If you've got to find a way to check the ball down and just keep moving the ball forward, completions have negative effects on defenses. They just do. And those moments where you're holding that ball and your reaction is to try to make a play, we can't talk out of both sides of our mouth because he sure as heck made a lot of plays doing that this year. But I think that's part of the growth. Remember, this guy's 27 years old or whatever he is, and I think he has a foundation now of both the things you do at the quarterback position to have success and the things that sometimes you have to learn the hard way. You talk to some of the greatest players that ever played the game at that position, and they all had learning moments throughout their journey.
It's a big part of football that you don't want to deal with as a fan when your team loses. It's tough to say, man, what did we learn from that? No one's saying that today in Denver and in Minnesota. They're not saying in L.A. with the Charger fans, the 330 of them. They're not saying what we learned from this. They're just bitter that they lost. Here's Sam Darnold on his play the last 2 games, which was the weakest performances he had.
Clearly just didn't play good enough the last couple of weeks. Left too many throws out there that I would usually make, and got to take better care of the football today, especially. I feel like I can be a lot better in terms of just moving on with my progressions, not trying to force anything. And, but yeah, again, I give them a lot of credit for the way they came out, they played, and the plan that they had.
That's class. You got to go to the podium. You got to be classy, and that entire Vikings organization did that. And they were flying high at 14-3. They were flying high. Every video I saw them, they were jumping up and down, spraying water bottles 2 weeks ago and how great they were, and they got punched in the face. They got Mike Tyson knocked out. They didn't see it coming. They knew the Detroit game was big. To get the 1 seed, they would have got a bye week, and they didn't win that game. Okay, they were not prepared after that. Coming up next, Jeff Sherman over at the Westgate, the Senior VP of Risk Management, on what happened in that betting line last night and the lines that are set up for this week. Betting the divisional round. You think Houston can win on the money line? I don't. But what about Houston getting the points and covering the spread? We'll go through all the NFL games and get his opinion on college football and the national championship game coming up on Monday.
All right.
Tom Monken is really
getting shut out today, which is good.
Not a head coaching experience.
All right, what am I missing here? Snow Raider, Big D, everybody good? Everybody good?
The Ravens offense went to a historic level.
Who's comparing AOC to Brady? We got a little of that going on.
3,000 yards on the
Messy
ground,
Jesse.
4,000 yards passing. He has been able to make a lot of things work.
The Morning Tailgate, weekdays at 7 a.m. on Raider Nation Radio, 920 a.m.
Boyd Gaming is the official and exclusive local casino partner of the Las Vegas Raiders at Allegiant Stadium. Bring your friends. Shador has no choice on where Shador's going to go. Visit their Shador's going to go where he gets drafted, period. Let the game get out of hand. He's not that good. He's not that great.
Patrick Seminars is coming to Las Vegas Thursday, February 6th for 1 day only. Here, we talk about how hypnosis works to help people lose weight or stop smoking.
We all have an image of ourselves.
Yeah, if you watch Sam Darnold the last 2 weeks, you weren't super impressed.
Non-smoker behaviors and beliefs. So we have an image of a smoker, we attract the habits of a smoker. If we have the image of a person who is overweight, we live up to those expectations. So one of the things we focus on with our programs is this, is we work on, at the subconscious level, the image or snapshot of yourself. If you have a healthy image, you attract healthy habits. We work on, under hypnosis, taking the pleasure association out for smokers that they have towards smoking, putting back in what they already know consciously, that it's a filthy, disgusting habit that they never wish they start in the first place, that's killing them dead. And we get them out.
All right, wide receiver Deontay Johnson reportedly angry in the locker room after the Texas playoff win.
Don't miss Mark Patrick Seminars Thursday, February
Due to his
6th
lack
at the
of
Santa Fe Station
involvement in the
Hotel and
offense.
Casino. Go to markpatrickseminars.com.
When you are injured, knowing that someone has your back changes everything. Our family has
spent over 3 decades fighting and pursuing justice for the injured. It's a long family heritage that we proudly carry on.
From our father to our family to the expert legal team at the Castroverdi, we founded this firm for you. We're the Castroverdi Brothers,
And we have your back.
BrothersWin.com. New year brings new health goals and wealth goals. Protecting your identity is an important step. Your info is in endless places that can expose you to identity theft.
This is going to be Josh Allen touchdown.
Millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, arm restoration.
Yep, okay, ready.
Guaranteed your money back. Resolve to make identity, health, and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Yep.
Next Vegas Golden Knights
All right, everybody, what else is happening? Here's a headline. Tom Brady convinced Lions coach. Ooh, let me read that. Hold on. Tom Brady convinced Lions coach to interview for Raiders head coaching job. I'll click that on.
Great cities are built on strong foundations.
All right, let's get him up here. Let's keep rolling. Let's keep the live stream going a little bit.
The solar fields powering the economy and everything in between to work safely. Labor's Local 872.
Betting odds. How do you bet on football?
Sorry, what?
I'm talking to these guys.
Are you looking for a better job with
Nashville Predators.
How about your buddy?
Golden Knights, Nashville Predators.
Yep, 5 o'clock puck drop.
Now through January 17th, bring a friend or your better half and get 50% off the second tuition
Okay.
on CDLA training.
Nashville's not very good, right? Marchessault and them.
They don't do very well against these big conferences.
They had a really good line with Marchessault, and supposedly nothing good's happened with it. He's having a down year. Yeah, rough year.
He was having a rough year too, that Riley Smith guy.
Boyd Gaming is the
Yeah.
official and exclusive local casino partner of the
Barbershops
Las
get
Vegas
more than
Raiders
that.
and Allegiant Stadium. Bring your friends, have some fun, but always bet on black.
All right,
Visit
here we
their
go.
10 casinos across the valley. Don't let the game get out of hand. Please bet responsibly.
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show. Brought to you by Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers. One love.
Allen fades back, steps into it, lobs it out, open, caught in the chest by Curtis Samuel Bernie, banging inside of the 20, 15, 10, slips out of a tackle, touchdown Buffalo! 55 yards, lob, catch, TD, it's 27-7.
Well, the Bills stepped on the gas in the second half. That first game was tough. That first half was tough, excuse me. That was fun to watch. JT, back with you. Every week we talk to Jeff Sherman, the Senior VP of Risk Management over at the Westgate. All right, Jeff, let's begin with last night. Was there any line movement on the moving of the game to Arizona, how that affected the Rams, or the line from Minnesota traveling into Glendale instead of L.A.?
Yeah, it was a slight move. We had the Vikings as a 1-point favorite when it was in L.A. We adjusted it to 2. It got as high as 2.5, and then we saw some Rams support. It closed 2. So basically, you see about a 1-point adjustment not being played in LA.
After seeing him, we're going to jump to all these games, but quickly after that, after seeing what the Rams did and how sharp they were, how's that affected the line with the Rams heading into playing the Eagles coming up in the divisional round from where you opened it?
Yeah, we opened 6.5 on the Eagles in this spot and immediately saw a lot of sharp play to bring it down to 6. And,
Okay.
You know, the one thing that we equated this to was the Eagles closed 5.5 against Green Bay last week. So we felt that Green Bay on a neutral right now would be about a 1-point favorite over the Rams. So we hence opened at 6.5.
What do you think of Sam Darnold's play the last 2 games? They put a lot into getting to Detroit and getting the 1 seed. Man, the 1 seed in the bye would have helped them a lot. It looked like they just ran out of gas and were out-coached.
Well, that was just it. I mean, they put so much in that Lions game that it ended up being a bad spot. And then you had the fact of the Rams playing for the city of L.A., and they were emotionally up for that game. So it was a tough spot for the Vikings coming off that Lions game the week before.
All right, let's start off with what you have for the Chiefs currently with the Texans coming in, especially with the Texans looking good, really finishing off that game at home in an impressive way. They just buried the Chargers, and their defense got to Justin Herbert, and Mahomes is another guy who likes to sling it around. Chiefs, kind of feels like the Chiefs are off 3 weeks after they got buried by Denver and shut everybody down.
Yeah, we opened this one Chiefs 8.5 against Houston, and it's gotten as low as 8, back to 8.5. So right in that range right there. We've seen a little bit of movement on the total, opening 42.5 down to 41.5. Supposed to be some chilly weather there.
All right, Commanders are going in to take on the Lions, and a lot of fans think, are you a team that's happy to get there? You're there, you win a game. That's great for the Commanders. I didn't get that impression from Jaden Daniels. I've never seen a guy that cool and calm in the pocket. I recall Brady as a rookie going to the Super Bowl and being amazed at how composed he was in such big games. And I'm seeing that now with Jaden Daniels. Big number, 9.5, 10. Where do you have that?
Yeah, we had opened at 10.5 actually,
Wow.
and it's been bet down to 9.5. It reached 9, but now we've seen some public get involved, getting it back up to 9.5. And Now, the big question here is Washington going to be able to score enough to keep up with the Lions, because we know the Lions will be able to put up points. And, this is a game that we felt like we wanted to open high because everyone's going to tie this to money line parlays and teasers. It's going to be absolutely a key game for that.
Yeah, and I want to ask about the total here in this game because I think both teams in this fast track can put up a lot of points. Where do you have it?
Yeah, we're at 55.5. We opened 56 and some sharp play early down to 55.5, but we know the public will be tying everything to the over, so it wouldn't surprise me to see that go a little bit higher on game day.
All right, Jeff, in all your years of doing this, we're getting the Ravens and the Bills in a divisional round. This feels like an AFC championship game. They're both in the same conference. I would love to see this as a Super Bowl if one of the other teams was in the other conference. This, to me, is the heavyweight fight. I like this game better than the winner playing Kansas City the following week when it comes to X's and O's. What's happening here?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. We opened this one, Bills -1.5 coming off the blowout against the Broncos. The public has been all over Baltimore so far. Baltimore -1 as a road favorite. Surprises me a little bit. I could have seen pick, but the public right now, the Ravens are their team.
Yeah, the Ravens now. I look at the way the Ravens have played. Just what blows me away is going into that environment in Buffalo. So Super Bowl odds updated. You did this a while ago. Lions 3-1, Chiefs 13-4, Ravens 9-2. Tell me about the Bills there. I was surprised by that number, and after the Rams won last night, if that moved significantly.
Yeah, we just updated these. We have the Lions and Chiefs each 3, Philly at 9-2. The Ravens are 5-1 and Buffalo 11-2, and you can kind of equate the difference there with Baltimore being a 1-point favorite. So their Super Bowl odds are a little bit less than Buffalo's. And the Rams went from 40-1 yesterday down to 20-1 now, cut in half.
Jeff Sherman is our guest. The Lakers got blown out in the fourth quarter last night. Let's go through some NBA odds for the opportunity to win the championship here. Oklahoma City, some of the top teams along the way, and maybe some potential teams where there's value because they're going to make a move at the trade deadline.
Yeah, it's tough. Right now we got separation with the top 3, with the Celtics at 9-4, the Thunder 5-2. Cleveland's been the team that's made a move odds-wise over the last couple of weeks down to 7-1. The next team you have is your Knicks at 12-1. The Lakers you talked about up at 40-1. They should be higher than that, but we have to see what they might do with the trade deadline. If they can get anything to help them. If they don't, they will be higher than 40-1 soon.
Jeff Sherman over at the Westgate, Senior VP of Risk Management. Golf Odds is where to follow him on X. The Dubai Desert Classic, I don't pay attention to it like you do, but it always seems like Rory is dialed in. Is that because of this course? Is it at the same course in Dubai every year? Why he's so dialed in there?
Yeah, he's got a great history here. And, it's a smaller field, and he finished off the year well at the end of last season. So he's a 4-1 favorite. John Rahm 11-2, haven't taken a break from the live, but it's this tournament this week over in Dubai actually has a better field than the American Express over in Palm Springs. So we're expecting to see probably equal handle between the two tournaments.
Let's wrap it up with college football when it looked like the future odds to win a championship when this started. Ohio State, they had to win it all to get the stink off of that Michigan loss. And I know there's a lot of Notre Dame fans that just like betting Notre Dame and the Irish because they love their team. What's the number look like at this game, especially the total, and how do you expect it to play out this week with the public?
Yeah, we opened Ohio State 8.5 against Notre Dame and quickly bet up to 9.5 and then saw some really sharp play, take it back down, and it's currently Ohio State -8 with a total of 46.5. Not too much movement on the total, but the sharps are definitely on the Notre Dame side at this point.
Thank you, Jeff. Great segment as always. Really appreciate you at the Westgate. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Jason.
That's Jeff Sherman going through all the odds. That's what we do every week. When people say to you, what do you put on? We put on the best. That's the Senior VP of Risk Management. And those are the latest odds. Ohio State -8. They're a really good team. They look like they have more pros than I see on Notre Dame. But Notre Dame special teams, they seem to be more of a team of destiny there. But Vegas doesn't care about your destiny. They care about taking your money. So 8 points there, very interesting. And then as we look at the Chiefs, I hope the Chiefs are rusty, because if they're not rusty, we got a problem here, everybody. If they're not a rusty team, we got a big problem. Chiefs, at one point, look at the number here. Went from 9 down to 8.5. Can the Texans cover that game? I just think the Chiefs are significantly better when it comes to pressure than the Texans. But C.J. Stroud, He's the X factor. Did he wake up in that last win? Did he wake up over the Chargers, made a couple of big throws as Herbert was going sideways? Does that give him the momentum to go compete against Mahomes? Looking forward to seeing what's happening there. All right, next hour, we're pretty packed. We're going to talk to Chris Myers from the NFL on Fox. We're waiting on any new Raider news. Kind of quiet today over in Henderson. They met with Pete Carroll yesterday. John Eric Sullivan from Green Bay and John Spytek. Those are the two, I think, front runners they are for the GM position. So that's what we do here. Another day, we wait around, talk to you. Chris Myers coming up next hour. We were shut out last hour, Bobby. We rarely get shut out. So let's put some cold water on our face and wake up. 702-365-9200 on your home for the Raiders, Raider Nation Radio, and so much more. All right.
NFL playoff doubleheaders Saturday at 1 on Raider Nation Radio and Sunday at noon on.
All right, everybody. I'll go another 10 or 15. Kind of like a long distance runner. I'll go another mile for you, man. We'll do another setup here. Bobby, we got that Vrabel and Aikman sound. Okay. Do both of that. Yep.
Short-term lender of 2025. Vegas, Reno, Henderson, Sparks, Fernley, Carson, Pahrump, Laughlin. The DLC is everywhere in Nevada, including our new location in Mesquite. Everyone wants to know how much a loan from Dollar Loan Center really costs, and it's way less than most people think. A $500 loan at Dollar Loan Center costs $2.75 per day in interest. Again, a $500 loan will cost you $2.75 per day in interest. If you need the loan for 10 days, the interest.
What else is happening? Everybody good? Anybody know anybody with the fires? Anybody fighting, trying to get people done with the fires?
$5,000 in minutes. Stop by one of our many locations. Apply online at don'tbegrow.com or even over the phone with a real person. Happy New Year from the DLC.
Everyone hit that like button. So I've been drinking black coffee in the morning. I'm not doing breakfast. I'm not a big breakfast guy, but I like breakfast. But then eat a good lunch and kind of tone it down at night for dinner, man. Just trying to kind of get the new year going right. No cervezas during the week. Quiet Monday, quiet Tuesday. We'll get the cervezas going, the Modelo's on the weekend. Anybody in there having a dry January? I did not. Had too many public events and things. Anybody having a dry January?
On South Rainbow and in Green Valley on Southeastern Avenue. Welcome to the Chevy Lightning Round. Guess the clues to win. First team.
Powerful, commanding, unstoppable.
Silverado.
Adventurous, fun, techie,
Trailblazer.
stylish, nimble.
Oh, I watched the final of Landman last night. Landman. Who's watching Landman with me?
You guessed all the right Chevy clues. Wherever the year takes you, explore it together in the Chevy of your choice. See yours.
Anybody else? What do you think of the season finale? No spoilers, right?
And start saving with Single Care. It's easy.
I'm also watching Lioness. I finished season 1 of Lioness. That was good. Very violent, man. Very violent. The women in that show are very violent. If you like military ops, black ops, all that, it was pretty good. I liked it. All right, we'll do that, and then think I got way better motivational quotes, so whatever. Here we go.
It's the JT the Brick Show, broadcasting live from the Finley Cadillac Performance Studio. Your silver and black home to sound off for over 25 years. And now, here's JT the Brick.
Welcome back. Hour number 2. We are on Raider Nation Radio. Thanks for listening. Brought to you by Modelo, the number one beer in America. Numero uno, the number one cerveza. Part of our show here, a big part of what we do. Modelo, proud partner of the show. I'm watching some highlights here in studio of the Vikings last night. The big play of the game that turned on them is they had Stafford going to the ground. Stafford kind of threw it away. It looked like a fumble. In most people's eyes, they said, no, incomplete. And then right after that, it was over. It was 10-3 with 4:45 to go. Strip sack fumble. Verse takes it back 17-3. And that was it. You know, for years, I've done a sports talk show where we'll take Viking fans to call in or other fans. You know, I'd like to get more and more fans of the NFL to check in here as we wait on Raider news. What do you think happened to the Vikings? You're all football fans who are listening and watching. What happened to the Vikings? When they do the Vikings year in review at 14-3, Sam Darnold, J.J. McCarthy's injury. What a great year they had. Raider fans, would you take 14-3? You'd take it hard. You'd take that. You'd love it. 14-3. And then they just completely flamed out. It's hard to get to the playoffs. Sometimes teams get there and they don't win. And when they get there and they don't win, after that, you sit around and go, wait. Didn't we do it right? Didn't we do it right? Didn't we do everything right? No, you didn't. You didn't win a playoff game. Remember when the Raiders got to the playoffs, 1st and goal at the 9. Rich Bisaccia, Derek Carr, and Darren Waller. And they didn't go to Darren Waller 4 plays in a row. I lost my mind. Well, they lost. They lost to Cincinnati in the playoffs. And the Raiders, I thought, were good enough to win that game. There was a call that went against the Raiders, right, when Burrow was going out of bounds and catch was made and everybody was going nuts about that. One play could define your postseason. But I'm going to get into Sam Darnold coming up here in a little bit. I like Darnold. I think he's a good player. He clearly has to be someone you're thinking about to be the next Raiders quarterback. He doesn't have to be, probably won't be, but you got to think about it. It's because there's no quarterbacks available high in the draft unless the Raiders trade up from number 6 to number 1 or 2 to get Cam Ward or Shador. They're not going to drop to 6. Now, if the Raiders want to move up and spend a first-round pick and do that, or 2 first-round picks, and they want to go get their quarterback, go for it. Ben Johnson's going to have to be here to approve that. Ben Johnson and Tom Brady are going to make sure that if Ben Johnson's hired, then they can kind of look towards the quarterback and try to figure out what they're going to do there. The GM candidates, as I'm looking here at Ian Rappaport, Vinny Bonsignore, I'm looking at everyone involved in breaking news here, and it is kind of a bit of a quiet day, but the Raiders interviewing John Spytek, obviously the Tampa Bay man who's been with Brady since Michigan, and John Eric Sullivan from Green Bay, part of Green Bay for a long, long time. And maybe that's someone that could fit in nicely here. But it's tough to try to put these pieces together. As we're trying to put pieces together here, we don't know who the coach is going to be. But Ian Rappaport reported 8 hours ago the Raiders have begun submitting slips for their vacant GM job, and the Packers VP of player personnel, John Eric Sullivan, has received the request, sources say. And a lot of people speak highly of him. We've had some young GMs and some GMs the last couple of years. Mike Mayock came from TV and NFL Network. Dave Ziegler came here from the Patriots and what he did at Denver. Remember, they were successful at Denver and the Patriots. And then lastly, we had Tom Telesco. And Tom came over from the Chargers and has a pretty good track record with first-round picks, and he's the guy who drafted Brock Bowers. So with all that, those are interesting points. Also, Mike Vrabel is off the list. So we have some sound here of Mike Vrabel as he was introduced over at Patriot Way. Here's what he had to say.
One thing I've realized about culture is that you can find out what your culture looks like when your family, your business, or your team is at its low point. But when you get hit in the mouth or you're down or the chips are against you, then you can take a snapshot of what your company or your team looks like, and then you'll find out what kind of culture you have.
Yeah, I always thought Vrabel would have been a good candidate for the Raiders, too. An established guy, a great player, Super Bowl champion multiple times, and coached in big games. His job now is to get the team to take a step up now. He's got good players, he thinks. He's got the quarterback. in Drake May. So he's going to look forward to getting this team fired up to be vastly improved.
I want to galvanize our football team. I want to galvanize this building. I want to galvanize our fans. And the most important thing are the players. There's some of them right here. I want to provide a program that provides their ownership, but also their accountability of each other, and one that they'll be proud to be a part of.
I think Vrabel's a good choice. It was the obvious one. We don't have an obvious choice here in Vegas. We don't. Ben Johnson seems to be the front runner, but we don't know what he's thinking. He's coaching the Detroit Lions and not going to be able to hear from him until after the postseason now, until they get eliminated. It's a long way to go, considering that we got to get to New Orleans with the Super Bowl. And Pete Carroll, who was in the building yesterday, I'm not getting a buzz on how that went or not, but Pete Carroll, I would assume, did pretty well if he sat down with the powers that be. Big breaking news last night was Troy Aikman. Troy Aikman spoke before the game, so he's part of the broadcast with Joe Buck. I guess part of his deal, they asked him to go down to the field and sit there and talk about Deion Sanders and Jerry Jones. And this was a viral moment. This is Hall of Famer Troy Aikman.
It suggests that there's not a real plan. I mean, in the fact that they haven't had the opportunity to maybe interview a Ben Johnson and some of these others, Aaron Glenn. I think that what Schefter said as far as Kellen Moore being a candidate, that seems logical to me. A guy who has familiarity with the building. He's worked obviously with the Cowboys and with Jerry Jones, and they know each other very well. In fact, when Mike McCarthy got the job, it was told to Mike that Kellen Moore would be the offensive coordinator. So that's how much the Jones family thinks of him. Beyond that, it's hard to imagine. As far as a coveted job, I don't know that that's accurate. I mean, really? I do think the Cowboys are obviously a high-profile team. Whoever is covering or whoever is head coach of that team is certainly going to draw a lot of attention. But I think most football people that take over as a head coach, they want to do it on their terms.
That's fair.
That's hard to do.
That's a really good bite by Troy Aikman. You know, he's not one of these guys who's an analyst and trying to get clicks, but he's a guy who said his point yesterday, and it went all the way to Dallas and back. So the Dallas job is not what it used to be, but I don't believe it. I think it's such a big job that it's a great job, period. If you have one of the top jobs in America and the team hasn't won for a while, it's still a top job. It's the Dallas Cowboys, the Green Bay Packers, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Oakland Raiders, now the Las Vegas Raiders. Those are big jobs. Are they bigger than New Orleans and Jacksonville and some of the other jobs? Yeah, they are, because those franchises have won more and they've been around forever and they have a much deeper history. I think one of the best jobs in football is Jacksonville. Jacksonville's got a really good, solid core of players on the offense and defense. Guys who can rush the passer, play defense, run routes. Got Trevor Lawrence at the end. They got good players. Now someone can come in there and turn them around. I don't know how John Gruden isn't the front runner for Jacksonville or New Orleans. Really do. I mean, John Gruden's now sat out enough and he's proven that he's ready to go. I think John Gruden's going to be a name. And he's not getting the interviews, which I'm surprised by. I think he should. Maybe that changes now with what's happening with Mike McCarthy. And I believe that Mike McCarthy's probably the front runner to get up to Chicago because of the fit there in the NFC North. All right, Chris Myers, kind enough to join us from the NFL on Fox. And he's got the book out, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. But Chris, I can't imagine what you and your family have been dealing with the last couple of days with the fires in LA. What's it been like?
Yeah, it's been very